This is a movement for Africans and African liberation. If that's not you, we don't want you. This is a movement for Africans and African liberation. If that's not you, we don't want you. Don't catch these Garvey hands. Don't catch these Garvey hands. Peace and Black Power. Brothers and sisters, peace and Black Power. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr.UMAR Ifatunde. I'm joining you today for just a short while. A few minutes ago at 5:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a few minutes ago at 5:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon went into the zodiac sign of Leo, not the sun. But the moon went into Leo, where she will be for the next 2 or 3 days. So shout out to all my Leos and Lionesses out there. Shout out to all my August babies and my late July babies. Leo season is coming. Leo season is definitely coming, brothers and sisters. The most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey was born under the sign of the lion. His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie Menelik II, the great Menelik II, who defeated the Italians in the Battle of Adwa. Edward Wilmot Blyden was under the Leo, and of course the Prince of Pan-Africanism, yours truly, was born under the sign of the lion. Leo season, 5 months and counting. Brothers and sisters, the reason I'm joining you right now, while the moon is in the sign of Leo, is due to the fact that today commemorates the 104th anniversary of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's arrival in the United States of America 104 years ago today. March the 23rd, 1916, the greatest black leader in modern history, the greatest organizer of all time, and the greatest Pan-Africanist of all time, arrived in the United States of America on March the 23rd, 1916. And in honor of His Excellency, the preeminent prophet and king of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, Marcus Messiah Garvey, I wanted to read some of his quotes, and I wanted to give a psychological and political analysis of the words of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. So that's why we are here. 104 years ago today, March the 23rd, 1916, the father of modern black leadership, the father of Pan-Africanism, the father of black organization, the father of African race-first fundamentalism. We have to get back to our African race-first fundamentalism. It is absolutely critical that we get back to our African race-first fundamentalism, brothers and sisters. Marcus Garvey did things that no other leader has ever done and that we've never seen. He is the only man in modern history to organize 13 million Africans from all over the world without a single handout from another race, without the use of religion, and without claiming to be divine. Let me say it again. He is the only black man in modern history to organize more than 13 million Africans, representing every continent, every nation, every region of the world, without a handout from another people, without using religion, and without claiming to be a prophet, a Messiah, a son of God, a divine figure. Garvey did not have to use religion, and Garvey did not have to hustle black people's weakness for religious authority in order to organize black people. I'm looking forward to the upcoming movie. I'm looking forward to the upcoming movie on the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey that's going to be played by our brother M'Baku from Black Panther. Unfortunately, M'Baku in real life has the snow bunny crisis. Unfortunately, M'Baku in real life has the snow bunny crisis. So obviously we cannot appreciate that. But I do want to see how the story of the greatest black leader of the 20th century is written. I do want to see how they narrate the story of the greatest black organizer of all time. I want to see this. I'm told that the movie will be told from the perspective of an FBI agent. So automatically that suggests that this will be a European narrative. If the movie on the Honorable Marcus Garvey is being told from the perspective of a white FBI agent or black FBI agent, that automatically dictates that the narrative will be hostile, the narrative will be untrue, and the narrative will be Eurocentric. It will not be an African narrative. It will not be a revolutionary pan-Africanist narrative, and it will not be a narrative that holds the preeminent prophet and king of black leadership in a positive light. But I will be doing the most thorough movie review that I've ever done when I break down the Garvey movie. In fact, I might have to take a whole week to dissect the lies and the hidden messages on the Garvey movie. Now, let me give you this right now. This is one of the prophecies of Ifatunde. Let me give you a prophecy of Ifatunde right now. I believe the reason the Garvey movie is coming out now, the reason the Garvey movie is coming out now is, number one, Pan-Africanism is at an all-time height. Pan-Africanism is at its highest level since the days of Garvey, in no small part due to the works of the man you're watching right now. Due in no small part to the works of the man you're watching right now. So Garveyism and Pan-Africanism is at its highest level in nearly a century. So it's popular. Pan-Africanism is popular. But another reason why they're doing this movie is because they want to undermine the Pan-African threat. They want to undermine the Pan-African threat. So they're doing this to make money. And they're doing this to use racism to undermine the legitimacy of the Pan-African platform. Remember, I've always taught you, I have always taught you that whenever racism destabilizes black people, it also gets paid off of black people. So we're dealing with racism multiplied by capitalism. Racism multiplied by capitalism. And make no mistake, racism invented capitalism. So capitalism is a child of racism. But whenever they create a problem for African people, they also capitalize off that problem. So they're going to assassinate the image of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey in this movie. They're going to assassinate the image of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey in this movie. And then they're going to get paid off that assassination because we're going to watch it. Now, for me, I have to watch it. I know a lot of you are into boycotting movies. The black ones I don't boycott because I have to do what? I have to correct the lies. I have to correct the distortions. I have to correct the inaccuracy. So I watch 12 Years a Slave. I watch Harriet Tubman. I watch Nat Turner because if I do not watch it, I cannot correct the historical narrative for our people or for our children. So I'm not boycotting none of them. I'm watching all of them. So I'm looking forward to this Garvey movie. I'm looking forward to this Garvey movie. So before I get into some quotes from the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, I'm only going to keep you guys for an hour because I have a conference call with some African-American students at a predominantly white institution at 8 o'clock. I have a conference call with some of our young African-American leaders on a predominantly white collegiate campus, and I need to give them some advice. Being a former officer, leader, Black Student Union president, student senator for a predominantly white institution myself, I want to impart some wisdom onto our young brothers and sisters. Middletown, Connecticut, I will see you Saturday. The Prince of Pan-Africanism will be in Middletown, Connecticut this Saturday, March the 27th from 2 until 8, Black Parent Advocate book release. From 2 until 8, Black Parent Advocate book release this Saturday, Middletown, Connecticut at the Free Space, 52 Main Street in Middletown. 52 Main Street in Middletown. And the very next day, on Sunday, March the 28th, the Prince of Pan-Africanism will be at the Black-owned Sanctuary Social Club in Lincoln, Rhode Island, right outside of Providence. That is the Sanctuary Social Club, Sunday, March the 28th, in Lincoln, Rhode Island, right outside of Providence. And then I will return in 2 weeks, Saturday, April 10th, Boston, Massachusetts, 18 Whittier Street, Saturday, April 10th, Boston, Massachusetts, for the New England Know Your School Rights Black Parent Boot Camp. The New England Regional Black Parent Know Your School Rights 12-hour intensive boot camp. Only 50 parents are allowed to take the training in Boston. You must register on the website right now, DrUmarJohnson.com, DrUmarJohnson.com, if you want to take the training. All paperwork and your lunch and refreshments will be provided. If you live in Boston, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, Vermont, you need to be there. If you don't live in New England, you are still invited to take the training. If you want to fly to Boston from Texas, if you want to fly to Boston from California, if you want to fly to Boston from the Carolinas, if you want to drive to Boston from New Jersey or Pennsylvania or New York, it is open. Any African parent can take the boot camp, but we hold it in a certain area to make it convenient for those parents. So it is the DR.UMAR New England Tour. I will be coming to Augusta, Georgia, Black Parent Book Release coming soon. The date is coming soon for my Augusta, Georgia Africans. For my Augusta, Georgia Pan-Africanists, the Prince is coming. Also, Shreveport, Louisiana. The DR.UMAR debut, Saturday, May 1st. Shreveport, Louisiana. For the very first time ever. Shreveport, Louisiana, for the very first time ever. Mark your calendar. Saturday, May 1st. The Prince of Pan-Africanism is coming to Shreveport for the first time on Saturday, May the 1st. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Friday, May the 14th at the Greenwood Cultural Center. Black Parent Advocate book release, lecture, and its entire program. I'm just one of the honored guests and one of the speakers. I'm just one of several honored guests and speakers at the Greenwood Cultural Center. Friday, May the 14th in Tulsa, the centennial of Black Wall Street. 1921-2021, the centennial of Black Wall Street. 1921 to 2021, the centennial of Black Wall Street. Oakland, California, Saturday, May the 15th. Oakland, California. We have a new date and a new place. We have a new date and a new place. Oakland, California, Saturday, May 15. Los Angeles, Sunday, May 16. Blessed Love Community Center. Y'all know the place. Y'all know my favorite place to be in Los Angeles. Y'all know my favorite place to be in LA. Blessed Love Cultural Center on Sunday, May the 16th. If you want to host a book signing, if you want to host a Black Parent Boot Camp, reach out to the Prince, 215-989-9858. If you need the flyer for New England, the flyer for Tulsa, the flyer for California, if you want to know when Augusta date is chosen, if Shreveport, you need the details for Shreveport, May 1st. It's the Prince. Saving the race, one black boy at a time. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. Mail your donation, check or money order to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware. P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. Join the Loyal Donors Club. Go to DrUmarJohnson.com and join the Loyal Donors Club. Also, if you live in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware area, if you live in the tri-state, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, I will be starting the Dr.UMAR book club. The Dr.UMAR book club. We will meet twice a month at La Unique Bookstore, 111 North 6th Street in Camden, right over the Ben Franklin Bridge. I repeat, the Dr.UMAR first ever book club. We will meet twice a month at the La Unique Bookstore, 111 North 6th Street in Camden, New Jersey. Only 30 people, 15 sisters, 15 brothers, 15 sisters, 15 brothers. And that information will be coming soon. If you're interested in being in the book club, send me a text message or a WhatsApp. If you're interested in being in the book club, send me a text message or a WhatsApp. Do not join the book club if you're not going to read the books. Do not join the book club if you're not going to read the books. If you fail the quiz, you will be given a quiz on the reading every meeting. You will be given a quiz on the book every meeting. And if you fail those quizzes, you will be removed from the book club. This is not for people who want to socialize. This is not for brothers who just want to get close to the doc. This is not for sisters who got a little crush on the prince. This is for people who want to study together, learn together, build together. This is for people who want to study together, learn together, build together. Twice a month, La Unique Bookstore. If you're interested, text my phone, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. This is not to try to get in my inner circle. Fellas, this is not to try to become the wifey, sisters. This is for consciousness. This is for consciousness. We have to bring back the study group. We have to bring back the book club. We have to bring back the study group. We have to bring back the book club. We have to bring back the study group. We have to bring back the book club, because social network, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse, they have killed the black study group and the black book club movement. So we have to bring them back. We have to bring them back. 215-989-9858. If you have children and you don't know my number, something's wrong. If you got young ones and you don't know my number, something's wrong. You should know my number. If you got young ones and you don't have this book, I expect to see you Saturday in Middletown, Connecticut. I expect to see you Sunday in Providence, Rhode Island. I expect to see you April the 10th in Boston for the Black Parent Boot Camp. I expect to see you Friday, May 14th in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the book release. I expect to see you in Oakland, California, Saturday, May 15th. I expect to see you at Blessed Love on Sunday, May the 16th if you don't have this book. I expect to see you in Shreveport, Louisiana on Saturday, May the 1st if you don't have this book. Or you can order it on my website, DrUmarJohnson.com. Or you can order it on my website, DrUmarJohnson.com. This is not the book we will be starting with. We will not be starting with this book. No, we will not. We may get to this book, but we're not starting with this book. And it is a pan-Africanist book club. If you are not a pan-Africanist, you cannot be in the book club. I'm going to say it again. If you are not a pan-Africanist or an aspiring pan-Africanist, the book club is not for you. I respect my Moorish brothers, Islam, but this is not a Moorish book club. I respect my Nation of Islam brothers and sisters, but this is not a Nation of Islam book club. I support my indigenous brothers and aboriginals and gods and earths and black socialists and all of that. But this is a pan-African nationalist book club. It is RBG. It is RBG. That's what we are. So we're not debating at this book club. Everybody in this book club is red, black, and green. I want to be clear. If you join this book club, you're red, black, and green. And if you're not red, black, and green, you cannot be in the book club. This is for those of like minds. This is for those of like minds. This is for those of like minds. Now, once the Nat Turner Gymnasium has been renovated, I will be leading the inter-organizational roundtable, the inter-ideological roundtable at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, where we will sit around the table, Nation of Islam, Moorish Science Temples, Gods and Earths, Nuwapians, socialists, integrationists, and we will try to come to a common ground and see how we can work together. We will be doing that at FDMG, but that is not this. That is not this. The book club is for those who think along the lines that I do. RBG. Now let's get into the Garvey quotes. Marcus Garvey said, quote, "This movement embraces African people everywhere." These are the words of Marcus Messiah Garvey, the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. He said, "This movement is for African people everywhere. This movement has no national bar, no color bar where Africans are concerned. This movement is not insular, it's not parochial, it is not national, it is not Barbadian, it is not Jamaican, it is not Trinidadian, it is not American, it is purely an African institution." Did y'all hear what Mr. Garvey just said? Did you hear what Mr. Garvey just said? He said, this is not for the Jamaican, the Barbadian, the American. This is for the African. This movement is for the African. And then he goes on. When you join this movement, you don't join as a Barbadian, a Jamaican, a Trinidadian, or an American. You join as an African. We are African family first. Hashtag AFF, African family first. Garvey goes on. He says, "And we recognize anyone as an African who has 1/16th drop of African blood in his veins. If he does not claim to be African, he can stay to himself." Did y'all hear that? If you don't claim your Africanity, we don't want you. Mr. Garvey says, if you don't claim your Africanity, we don't want you. So for those of you who want to be mixed race and biracial and quarter Native American and 1/3 Irish and a fifth this and a fifth that, we don't want you. We don't want those who want to claim everything that they are except African. Okay? Okay, so if you're not from Africa, we're not going to fight with you. We know you from Africa, but you got that self-hate gene in you. Guess what? No problem. Keep it pushing. No problem. Keep it pushing. This is a movement for Africans and African liberation. If that's not you, we don't want you. This is a movement for Africans and African liberation. If that's not you, we don't want you. Don't catch these Garvey hands. Don't catch these Garvey hands. Let's keep going. Mr. Garvey says, if he does not claim to be an African, he may stay to himself. And we welcome him to stay there. I am here representing not an insular institution, not a parochial institution, not a national institution, but I am here representing a universal movement for African people. Mr. Garvey says he is representing a universal movement for African people. This is a universal Africa for a universal African people, a government of our own. Barbadians can work for it. Jamaicans can work for it. Americans can work for it. African British can work for it. The Haitian can work for it. The Brazilian can work for it. The Canadian African can work for it. All Africans, one mighty global government. See, Garvey was ahead of his time. He's the only leader to build a government for African people. Everybody else gave you a church. Everybody else gave you a church and a religion. Garvey gave you a government for African people. That's what the Garvey movement was. Mr. Garvey goes on and he says, And brothers and sisters, if you're just joining us, this is DrUmarJohnson in honor of the Most Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who arrived in New York City today. He arrived on this day in New York City, March the 23rd of 1916, 104 years ago, destined to become the greatest black organizer of all time, greatest black leader of the 20th century, and greatest Pan-Africanist ever. He showed up today, 104 years ago, and in honor of Garvey, we are reading the quotes of Garvey. God Almighty gave us a country, a continent, the richest and most prolific among them all. He gave us the great continent of Africa. It is for you to repossess yourselves of Africa. Did you hear that, brothers and sisters? Garvey said it is for us to take back Africa. Garvey says it is for us to repossess yourself of Africa. He goes on. Remember, men, the African is in each and every one of us. We cannot get away from it if we tried. He said Africa is inside of you, and you cannot get away from Africa no matter how hard you try. He goes on. 1/16 of blood makes you an African. Therefore, do not play the fool and talk about you not being African. We are Africans. But the only difference is some Africans at home and others are Africans abroad. Some are Africans in Africa and some are Africans abroad. But we are all Africans. We are the Africans abroad, unfortunately. And I'm so sorry that I was born abroad. I wish I was born in Africa. There could be some trouble here today. I was born in an alien country. Garvey says, everybody knows that there's absolutely no difference between the native African and the American African or the West Indian African, in that we are all descendants from one common family stock. It is only a matter of accident that we have been divided and kept apart for over 300 years. But it is felt that when the time has come for us to get back together, we shall do so in the spirit of brotherly love. And any African who expects that he will be assisted here, there, or anywhere by this movement to exercise a superiority over other African people makes a tremendous mistake. Did y'all hear what Garvey said? He said, any African who thinks that you will be allowed to exercise a superiority above another African is making a mistake. The African in Africa is no better than the African in the diaspora. The African in Africa is no better than the African in the diaspora. The African in the diaspora is no better than the African in Africa. The African in Canada is no better than the African in Jamaica. And the African in Jamaica is no better than the American African. And the American African is no better than the Brazilian African. We are equal. One race. African family first. Garvey goes on. We shall do so in the spirit of brotherly love. And any African who expects that he will be assisted here, there, or anywhere to exercise superiority over the fellow race makes a mistake. Such men had better remain where they are and not attempt to become in any way interested in the higher development of Africa. If you are a chauvinist, if you are an elitist, if you are a bourgeoisie snob, you are not wanted in a Pan-African movement. If you are an elitist, if you are a chauvinist, if you are a bourgeoisie snob, you are not wanted for the African liberation movement. Mr. Garvey goes on and he says, a people without knowledge of their history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Mr. Garvey says a people without knowledge of their history, origin, and culture are like a tree without roots. Now, I want to say this. Knowing your history is not just about knowing who you are. Knowing your history is about knowing your interaction with other people. Let me say this, and I want you to understand, and overstand Ifatunde. I want you to understand, and overstand Ifatunde. I want you to understand, and overstand Ifatunde. To know your history is not just to know yourself. It is to know your enemy, and it is to know the history of the interaction with your enemy. This is important because a lot of us act like we don't understand that we've been dealing with racism for at least 3,000 years in the modern context. The first literate European was Homer with the Iliad and the Odyssey, 1000 BC, around that time. The first literate Europeans, 1000 BC. We are now 2000 AD. So 1000 BC, 2021 AD, that's 3021 years of interacting with the European in the modern context, and we still stuck on stupid. 3,000 years of interacting with your oppressor, and you still stuck on stupid. So when Garvey says to not know your history is like being a tree without roots, that also means to not understand your enemy is to be like a tree without roots, because you don't have a foundation to stand on when you interact with other groups if you don't know your history with those other groups. I said you don't have a foundation to stand on when you interact with other groups because you don't know the history that we have had with other groups. Mr. Garvey goes on and he says, others of my race oppose me because they fear my influence among the people, and they judge me from their own corrupt, selfish conscience. This is important because I would agree with this. Mr. Garvey talking about his haters, W.E.B. Du Bois, A. Philip Randolph, all types of coons, NAACP, black socialists, even some of Marcus Garvey's own childhood friends from Jamaica who came to New York City started hating on him because he was more successful than they were. Garvey says, others of my race oppose me because they fear my influence among the people, and they judge me from their own corrupt, selfish conscience. I would agree with that. Most of my detractors today, 100 years after Garvey, 100 years after Garvey, most of my detractors today oppose me because they fear my influence among the people. Just what Garvey said. He said they oppose me. People in my own race oppose me because they fear my influence among the people. They fear my influence among the people, and they judge me from their own corrupt, selfish conscience. What are they always telling you? Dr.UMAR stole the money. Dr.UMAR stole the money. You know why they say Dr.UMAR stole the money? Because if they were able to raise the money that I've raised, and we haven't broken $1 million yet, if they have raised the money that I raised, they would have stole it. They would have stole it. They would have bought a house, bought a car. They would have went partying. They don't understand me. They don't understand me. They don't understand a sincere freedom fighter. I'm not perfect, but I am sincere when it comes to the liberation struggle. So a hustler could never understand a crusader. A hustler, a street hustler, and a pimp and a con artist could never understand someone who has a righteous cause. And that's why they accuse me, because that's what they would do. As Garvey say, they speak from their own selfish consciousness. Let's read a few more. Middleton, Connecticut, I will see you Sunday. Providence, Rhode Island, Middleton, Connecticut, I will see you Saturday. Providence, Rhode Island, I will see you Sunday. Boston, April 10th. Tulsa, May 14th. Oakland, May 15th. Los Angeles, May 16th. Shreveport, Louisiana. Shreveport, Louisiana, May 1st. Garvey says, we say that the time for African women to leave the kitchen is now. Did y'all hear that, black woman? Mr. Garvey says, we say that the time for African women to leave the kitchen may be now. Okay? Marcus Garvey is saying it's okay for the black woman to cook and clean, but it's also okay for the black man to cook and clean. But Marcus Garvey says the black woman has more to contribute to the race than cooking food and cleaning the house. Marcus Garvey said the black woman has more to contribute to African liberation than to just cook the food and clean the house. That's why in the Garvey movement, every division of the Garvey movement had a male president and a female president. Every division of the Garvey movement had a male president and a female president. Every division of the Garvey movement had a male president and a female president. In the Garvey movement, the black woman had her own military. In the Garvey movement, the black woman had her own military, the Universal African Motor Corps. The Universal African Motor Corps. The Universal African Motor Corps. It was Garvey who's responsible for the white woman getting the right to vote. If you did not watch my Kwanzaa seminar on Garvey, if you did not watch my 2020 Garvey Kwanzaa seminar, go to my Facebook, Dr.UMAR Ifatunde, and watch it. Go to my Facebook, Dr.UMAR Ifatunde, and watch it. Go to my Facebook, Dr.UMAR Ifatunde, and watch my Garvey seminar, and you will see how Marcus Garvey is the reason the white woman got the right to vote in the United States of America, because Garvey treated the women as equals. They were equal in the Garvey movement because they are equal in African consciousness, in African culture. Garvey says, so many quotes. Here's one. You need not look for hope. And that is why I am so stubborn and determined that the African must have a nation of his own. That is why I am so stubborn and determined that Africa shall be redeemed and that we shall have a government, not a religion, a government second to none. So that when the strong races seek to exterminate us, which they're doing right now, Marcus Garvey said, sooner or later, they will come to exterminate us all. Garvey predicted 100 years ago COVID. He predicted 100 years ago HIV/AIDS. He predicted 100 years ago mass incarceration and gentrification. Garvey said if we do not learn to do for ourselves, we will be exterminated. He said when the strong races seek to exterminate us, when they make up their minds to wage a battle for the survival of the fittest, you and I stand here. We'll stand here until Gabriel has blown his horn. Garvey says, it is no use trusting to change. 6,000 men are now holding down 4 million. Why? Because they have only sticks and stones, while the other 6,000 have bayonets. The idea is to get possession of everything that your enemy has. That is the thought I want to get into the minds of African people around the world. This is not the time to remain fighting with one another and bickering with one another. This is the time for us to present to the world the best within us, the best technical African, the best scientific African in every way. Garvey said we must find the best Africans. Mr. Garvey said we need the best Africans amongst us, the most well-trained and most well-intended. well-trained and well-intended. We need them to come together to create the blueprint for the future African government of the world. This is what Garvey was talking about. Garvey says, all people now are struggling to blast away through the industrial monopoly of races and nations, but the African as a whole has failed to grasp his true significance and seems to delight in filling only that place created for him by the white man. I want to read this one again. This is one of the quotes of His Excellency, the provisional and preeminent prophet and king of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism. This is one of the most honorable Marcus Garvey quotes that most sums up the message of DrUMAR Ifatunde. Garvey says, all people are struggling to blast away through the industrial monopoly of races and nations, but the African as a whole has failed to grasp his true significance, and we seem to delight in only filling that place created for us by the white man. Did y'all hear that? He said black people, Africans, are comfortable. We are comfortable only being in that place that the white man has given us. Garvey said, you don't beg for your place. You don't demand your place. You have to make, build, and create your place. That is what makes us different from all other movements. That is what makes Pan-Africanists different from all other ideologies. We ain't begging for it. We ain't praying for it. We ain't marching for it. We are making it. We are taking it, and we are building it. Stop being comfortable with what the European has decided you should do for a living and create your own vision for your own future. That is Garveyism.